I literally just came back from what was supposed to be a really relaxing Sunday motorcycle ride in which I narrowly avoided an accident, mostly thanks to a precept that a very famous samurai uttered many years ago. And the precept is, accept everything exactly as it is. And in this video, I'll tell you why this precept is so powerful in helping you and I deal with complex, difficult, and uncertain situations. And I'll tell you why this precept prevents you from spending a lot of time wasting emotional energy that you could use to better deal with a problem that is at hand. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Andres and this is Life Frameworks, where I share with you tools that you need to kick ass at life. Miyamoto Musashi was a complete badass. He was a running samurai that lived in the 1600s. And it was a very difficult period in Japanese history in which there were a lot of wars and you had to fight a lot of duels. And Musashi actually fought and won 61 sword duels, which is an impressive record. I have no idea why he was fighting so much, but the point still stands. Musashi is revered in Japan as a sword saint because of his accomplishments. But two of the most important accomplishments that he attained in his life was writing two very simple books. One is the Book of Five Rings, and the second one is the Dokoro. The Dokoro is a very simple book that consists of 21 precepts that running samurai of his time, but modern people in the world can apply to lead a better life. In this channel, we will cover the 21 principles, but the first and most important one that forms a basis of all of the principles in Musashi's Dokoro is accept everything exactly as it is. Now, this precept has honestly saved my life in one or two occasions, and in others, it has allowed me to deal with problems or very difficult situations in a way that is very efficient and is not charged with emotional drama. Now, this precept is very powerful when you understand it correctly. And sometimes when I mention it to people, the first reaction that they have is no, you're not supposed to accept everything as it is. You're supposed to change things. And this precept does not mean that you're not supposed to change things. It means that if something happens, you need to accept that it happens and then deal with it and process the consequences without wasting time thinking, oh, it should not happen, why did it happen to me and everything. So, as we move forward through this video, keep in mind that accept everything exactly the way it is does not mean don't try to change it. It just means first accept it, then figure out what to do with it, and then change it, and not in the other order. So I'll start by illustrating the power of this concept by telling you about my motorcycle riding experiences. A few years ago, I decided that I really wanted to ride a motorcycle. And there were many things about it that got me interested in riding motorcycles. The first one was pretty practical. It was just shaving off time of my commute by being able to lane split, which is legal in California. But the other one was something intriguing, something that really seduced me about the freedom that you feel when you're riding a motorcycle in a highway and there's nothing preventing you from experiencing the world at high speeds than your helmet. Now, when I started to tell people, especially family members, that I wanted to ride a motorcycle, the first reaction that I frequently got was, no way, don't do it. It's actually a very dangerous thing to do. And I made a promise to myself that if I was going to ride and I was going to partake in what is a riskier than average activity, I was going to read a lot of books, take a lot of classes, and learn how to ride the best I could so that I could avoid accidents as much as possible. I probably read 2 or 3 books on how to ride motorcycles, and I took 2 motorcycle classes. And all of those classes always started with some version of Musashi's precept. Accept everything exactly as it is. And why would they teach that in motorcycle classes? Well, the theory behind this is the following. If you're riding your motorcycle on a highway or on a street, and then something that you do not want to happen, but is happening, takes place, there's no point in you saying to yourself, this shouldn't be happening, why is this happening to me? Oh, the other person is a moron. It doesn't really help you. The only thing that helps you is reacting in the appropriate manner to avoid an accident that could hurt you or end your life. And now, several years of riding later, I realized that this is a very important principle and has helped me in multiple occasions. So I'll give you an example from the trip that I just took. So I was riding in a two-way mountain highway that was in not very great conditions when I saw a cyclist coming off of a blind corner. And as soon as I saw the cyclist, I saw a shadow that made me realize that a car was trying to pass a cyclist really quickly on a blind corner. So a car was literally in my lane in a blind corner when we were both going relatively fast. Now, in that moment, if I didn't understand this precept, I would have completely freaked out, and I would be, all nervous. I wouldn't know how to react. I would be saying, why is this happening to me? Why this took place? And when all of this denial and anger and sadness and anxiety emotions are going through your head, and a car is coming at you at really high speeds, you're actually going to get really nervous. You're going to get flustered. And it's going to be much more difficult for you to practice the routines that you know in order to avoid the accident. And for me, because I'm a little bit more of an experienced rider, and I've been riding according to this precept ever since I started riding a motorcycle, it was really natural to remain calm, push the right side to swerve, and then as soon as I was able to swerve, then push the left side of my motorcycle and then get back on track. And avoided what could have been a pretty bad accident. Now, after I avoided the accident, I did not keep thinking about the situation because I was still on the road, I was still riding, and there were still things that I needed to look out for. And honestly, this sounds super weird, but it actually happened. As soon as I avoided the accident and I turned on the blind corner, I don't know, probably 200 meters later, there was a flock of wild geese that were walking on the mountain road. And I had to, again, sort through the obstacles so that I didn't run over the geese. And this sounds funny, but the whole point is I had just avoided an accident, but I had to keep my concentration on the road because another obstacle, another very uncertain situation presented itself moments later that if I had thinking about something else or I had stayed with the bad emotions or I was angry at the driver, I would have not been able to react to this novel situation. Now, even though those situations were not great and did not make for a very relaxing Sunday ride, it does allow me to illustrate the precept that I'm talking about. Because I was on the road and I accepted everything exactly as it was that I had the presence of mind to maneuver and get myself out of the situations in the best and safest way possible. If I had not followed this precept, things could have probably been very different. And I've frequently seen people, other riders and drivers on the road, that as soon as something that is out of the ordinary happens, they'll freak out and react in very unexpected ways. Not because they don't know how to ride or how to drive, just because the emotions and the denial of what's happening kicks in and prevents them from engaging in those actions that could prevent the accident. Okay, so now that I talked a lot about motorcycle accidents and car driving accidents, and I've got your adrenaline flowing, I want to make the connection and make you realize that we frequently go through life in a way that violates this precept. And I soon realized that I've done that a lot in the past, and it prevented me from reacting in a good, efficient manner to solving problems that presented themselves. And also I realized that a considerable portion of the negative emotions that I experience every day came from denying what was happening instead of just dealing with it and getting on with my day. So I'll give you an example of how I violated this principle in the past and what I could have done better. And this example comes from my business experience. So several years ago, I started a company while I was in college. And it was a medical device company that I was getting a lot of grants for. And at that time, I was working with a person, and that person really wanted to go to medical school and decided to help me and my teammates with our entrepreneurial medical device endeavor because she thought that this would allow her to do better in her med school applications. And part of what we did to secure funds to develop the device was to apply for grants and participate in competitions that had prizes. And I didn't really care about the resume value of what we were doing. What I actually wanted was to develop a device and sell it in the market. But this person really cared a lot about resumes. So I said, look, I don't care whose name is on the grant or the competition applications. I'll let you write yourself down as a team captain and control all of the applications because I just care about getting the money. So she was on board with that and she agreed to the arrangement. So she helped a little bit with the grants, and then on the side sometimes she would help with device engineering. Now, when we're getting ready to file the patents, legally the only person that can appear as an inventor as a patent is a person that actually contributed an inventive step to the creation of the invention. And our lawyers ran through a process and told us, okay, like these people are the inventors of the patent, and this person isn't because they didn't contribute an inventive step. So, she got really mad as a consequence, and she kind of took it out on me. And because she was the captain and she controlled all of the applications to these sources of funding, what she did was literally blackmail me. So she withheld the applications and said, I'm only going to file them if you name me as an inventor on the patent. Which again, according to the law, she wasn't supposed to be named as one. And at that time, I did not know how to react, and I did not know the precept, accept everything exactly as it is. So all this back and forth was actually happening while I was on my break with my family. And during Christmas, I remember being super anxious and kept saying, why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening. Whoa, like this person is completely out of line. Why is this happening? But what I realized like during Christmas and like all the days that ensued, I was just really mad at what was happening and had feelings that was reacting about what was happening. And really made myself miserable for many, many days of break. Instead of saying, look, this sucks, but it is happening. So I have to deal with it. There's no other way around it. How am I going to deal with it in the best way possible? So after many, many days of denying reality, being super anxious about it, I decided that we were just not going to file the grants that she was a captain for. I was obviously going to kick her off the team, and then we were going to file other grants. And it all ended up working out to some degree in the end. But the main point that I want to make here is that looking back, I realized that the many, many days that I spent denying reality were days that A, I was not devising a plan for how to react more efficiently, and B, this was all wasted energy and all wasted emotions because the thing had happened. So there was no point in questioning why it had happened and beating myself up for having it happen because it happened and then I had to deal with it. Now, this doesn't mean that in the future, after I had dealt with it in the best manner that I could, I didn't go back and started to ask myself, why did this happen? How could I change it? But that only happened after I had solved the problem. And this is exactly what Musashi meant when he said many years ago, accept everything exactly the way it is. If he was in a sword fight and all of a sudden his opponent threw sand in his eyes, there was no point in him thinking, oh, this shouldn't be happening, these guys are cheat. No, he needed to react or else the blade was going to cut him, right? But then, afterwards, what has won the battle or won the duel, he would go back, meditate and think, okay, when I was doing this, this guy threw sand in my eyes. In the future, how can I prevent it? But again, he would only do that after the fact. At the moment, you accept and you react in the most appropriate manner. So the framework that I've realized has been really helpful for me, that I'd like to put forward to you in the hopes that it helps you in your life, is the following. Life is complicated and uncertain, and things that you do not want to happen will happen. When one of those presents itself, the first thing that you need to do is accept it. If a pandemic happens, accept it. Once that you accept it, plan and execute on a course of action that will allow you to deal with the situation most effectively. After you've dealt with the situation effectively, you can sit down, meditate, and say, why did this happen? How can I be better prepared to deal with similar situations in the future? And how can I avoid those situations taking place? Now, I realize that this is much easier said than done. When you're trying to enact this course of action, emotions and thoughts will start to come in your head. You're just going to start to feel anxious. You're going to start to question things. You're going to start to feel sorry for yourself. So just get into the habit of blocking them out and say, no, if it happened, it happened. And the only thing that I can do is accept it and deal with it. And then after, I can evaluate my emotions and I can feel them, but only after I have dealt with it. All right, that's all for today. If you found this video helpful and you think it can be helpful to other people as well, feel free to shoot them the link or share it on social media so they can also get the value that you got from it. And if you found this video helpful, I would like to keep up to date with the frameworks that I put forward that allow you to live a better, happier, and more successful life. Just feel free to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave comments below with your thoughts about the framework that I put forward. I love to hear from you and start debates and brainstorming around this precept. I can't wait to see you in the next video. And remember, accept everything exactly as it is. After you've done that, think of ways in which you can solve the problem that has presented yourself. And only after you solve the problem successfully, think about how you can avoid that situation happening in the future and process the emotions the situation arose.